So build a specific algorithm or build some specific infrastructure. From there, then we can take that algorithm and deploy it however they want. We're working on building out our own standalone platform, but a lot of these companies already have some kind of telematics solution in place already. So either use our own standalone platform or integrate our analytics into whatever system we've already got up and running. So they don't necessarily want a new dashboard per se. They just want, okay, here's where we've got everything we need here. We just want a couple extra key metrics off the battery to make sure everything is hunky-dory.
So for example, let's suppose someone has a trucking company, have like, we'll say 300 trucks, right? Mm-hmm. And they come to us, hey, our battery performance of trucks is going low. Like, how would you improve their battery performance? How would that work?
Yeah. I guess, step one, that would be maybe design a POC just to look at the data and see what the data says. So maybe they're doing something weird with their routing where they're getting too low into the depth of discharge, and now they're degrading the battery faster than expected. All different kinds of things could be happening, but the first step would just be, okay, let's look at the data, see what kind of issues we've been running into, and then that would either help us recommend, okay, these are here's the lowest hanging fruit that we can do. Maybe change the way you're charging the battery, keep it within a certain window, or if it's like a fixed route, that's kind of different from like a bus route. You kind of know where the bus is going to be going, versus if you're an Amazon delivery driver, then you could be all over the place. So those are a little bit different use cases there. But broadly speaking, yeah, step one, look at the data, see if there's anything that jumps out at us as far as, okay, this, 100 of these, you've got 100 of these trucks in your fleet. Maybe 98 of them are doing really well, but these two here, either the driver is, whoever's driving that is abnormally abusive to the battery, or there's some defect in either in the manufacturing QC, or could be any number of things. But yeah, that's where we come into step one, provide the visibility into what's going on, and then once we kind of triage things, then we can make recommendations from there.
And I'm guessing all batteries eventually die, right? Like, so when a battery dies, I'm guessing you're supposed to recycle it versus just throw it in the trash can. There's like certain places you're supposed to recycle batteries at. How does that work?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's one of those things where the infrastructure isn't quite there yet. People are working on it, but for example, the battery in your laptop, for a long time, there was not super robust infrastructure for recycling that, just because it's a handful of batteries in that type of thing. Versus now that we've got an appreciable amount of electric vehicles on the road, they start to die, or they start to have some kind of problems, or they just get retired from service. Now you've got thousands of times more batteries to deal with. Now you can start to build out the infrastructure for setting up some of these companies that are aspiring to either recycle these batteries, either crunch it up and then start over and send the materials back as feedstock for somebody else, or you can think about repurposing it. So maybe it's not very good as a car battery anymore, but it could still be a backup power solution for your home and your backyard or something like that. So that's an active area in the battery field right now, is figuring out, okay, what do we do with these batteries as they wear out? And on a long enough time horizon, it'll take probably another 5-10 years to work out the kinks, but eventually it'll be a full closed loop process of, okay, we don't need to dig as much stuff out of the ground anymore because we've got a steady state amount of lithium or iron or whatever that feedstock is for the amount of batteries that we need.
And so you started a company doing your PhD research. Can you talk about the light bulb moment you had? Like, it just clicked you, I had to start this company.
Man, that's an interesting story. Yes, we've been through a couple iterations since we originally started it. I don't know how often I tell this story, but what ended up happening, I want to say this was, I think it was 2015 going into 2016. I was back home for Christmas, back in Wisconsin, and my dad we were driving from Madison to pick up my brother in Milwaukee. My dad was driving. It was me and my dad, and he fell asleep at the wheel. I look over. I'm in the front seat. I see we're kind of veering over into oncoming traffic. I look over at my dad, and he's asleep at the wheel. I quick grab the steering wheel, and we narrowly missed running into a semi truck. So it just dinged the side mirror. It didn't we didn't get in a crash or anything, but it was enough to get the adrenaline pumping and all that. That was kind of the impetus for me to say, okay, let's at least take a chance at I had this idea in the back of my head to go start a company. Let's go dive into it a little bit more heavy duty and see where it takes us. So we actually went through a couple different iterations of the company since then. I guess you'd call them pivots, but yeah, that was kind of a light bulb moment, if you will.
So one of those, I'm not be here tomorrow. Let me fucking live my life to the best I can, right?
Yeah, fuck it, we ball. Let's see if we can't do something useful with this battery stuff.
That's a definitely original story right there.
Yeah.
Like from death to almost dying, like starting a company.
Yeah. I mean, it's I don't want to oversell it, but yeah.
It's a great story though.
It's enough to get the adrenaline pumping, and I was like shaking a little bit, like, oh man, I almost died. We didn't have to go to the hospital or anything. Nothing.
Yeah, but still, I imagine your nerves are like spider senses going off.
Yeah. So you pull over to the side of the road. I drove the rest of the way. My dad took a nap.
Yeah.
She was, I don't know, but yeah, that was one of those things that it's like, okay, let's go and enter one of these UW business plan competitions and see where it takes us from there. And yeah, it's been kind of the through line since I guess 2015.
And one thing I don't know if people realize how much startup stuff happens at University of Washington, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's startup hall, there's all these different things going on there, right? It's probably like one of the top places to do a startup, I think.
Yeah, we've definitely gotten a lot of support from UW, from the Burke Center, from Foster School. So yeah, UW's been great for us.
So you got your bachelor's or undergrad from University of Wisconsin. So why did you decide to get your PhD from University of Washington?
That's another interesting story. Well, the short answer is it's the only place I got into. So,
there you have it.
Yeah, so it made the decision process pretty easy. I temporarily, this is another kind of funny story, I temporarily got into MIT for about an hour. So what ended up happening there, I think they accidentally sent acceptances to every single person who applied my year. So we all temporarily got accepted to MIT for about an hour until they came back with another email that said, all right, actually no.
Man, can you imagine when the person had to send a second email, like the egg on the egg on their face?
Yeah, I don't have it with me anymore, but I had it for a while.
I would definitely have I would have both letters on a frame somewhere.
Yeah. No, I'll have to go dig that up at some point. But I used to have a chip on my shoulder about that. I always wanted to get into MIT, but it never quite worked out. But
so you didn't. So when they send the second letter saying, you didn't reply. Say, hey, if the first letter is a mistake, how do I know the second letter is not a mistake too?
No, I didn't respond. They just kind of strung us along for another couple of weeks, and then eventually got my official rejection.
Yeah.
But
okay.
But no, that one, that one. It is what it is. It's kind of water under the bridge at this point. I kind of wonder, Seattle is a different environment compared to Boston.
Oh yeah, very different. Yeah.
I wonder what kind of person I would have been if I, spent 11 years at MIT versus here. So.
Yeah, like one thing I have in my life, I always talk about decision points, right? Like one decision, changes the trajectory. Like that's a big decision point going to MIT versus University of Washington, but there's all these little decision points we have in our life, and people don't realize the decision points other people affect us too, right? Like it's like Joe Brown decided to leave his house 10 minutes early, and then he affects all the traffic and stuff, so it makes you late here. Like just all these things people don't think about. I think
people who were late for their flight at 9/11 or all those kinds of stories.
All these like different, all this multiverse stuff. Yeah, it's insanity. So being a founder is not easy, right? It actually sucks if people honest themselves. What makes you not quit?
Yeah, I'm very stubborn, so I don't know if you can coach that. That's just the way I'm built. So part of it, I'm just very obstinate, maybe people would call it, in certain things. This doesn't work for everybody, but works amazingly for me is, my bad days aren't even really that bad. Like, somebody's get a little bit, annoyed at me over email or on a call or something like that. Okay, that's whatever. But my grandpa was in the Korean War, so this doesn't work for everybody, but it works amazingly for me. Like, no Chinese dudes were trying to shoot at me today, or no North Koreans were shooting at me today. An IED didn't blow up my Jeep or anything. So, sometimes I get a little bit too down on myself, but if I can properly reframe it, it's like, all right, there's what I'm doing. I send I send emails and I do Zoom calls, and that's most of my job. So it's really not that bad when you frame it appropriately.
So having said that, being an entrepreneur, you hear no a lot, right? People tell you no all kind of different ways. A lot of people take no as personal. They think it's a personal thing, but it's not really right. Mm-hmm. I mean, maybe once in a while it is personal, right? But how do you deal with all the no's?
Yeah, I guess I should be getting more of them. Yeah, we're early stage startup. We have a long sales cycle. A lot of our no's are just like not right now. Mm-hmm. So it's one thing if this is a thing that took me a long time to figure out. There's people who are like, oh wow, that's really great, Robert, even though that's a no.
I
thought it was not a no.
Exactly right. That's the biggest thing in the you got to figure out. Yeah. This is the biggest one. Come back with more traction.
Yeah.
I got more traction. I meant even more.
Yeah.
Damn, dude, you want me to have A-round metrics? I'm a pre-seed, right?
I'm very literal, so when people tell me things, I'll sometimes as worse at this historically, but I'm getting better at it now. But reading the literal content of their message instead of the subtext. That was that's been a big learning point. It's like, okay, they say it's nice, but actually I should never talk to them again because they're not really interested at all. So that's that was a learning experience. Overt no's are better. That's like, now I know we don't need. There's nothing for us to do here. That's fine. Let's move on, and nobody's mad at anybody. It's just not a good fit, so that's fine.
Exactly. So, since you started coming, have you had any kind of pivots or anything?
Yes, I've had a couple. The original, back to when we originally, had my near-death experience. The original idea we were built around was, actually building hardware for battery testing. So if you're in a battery lab, you're doing battery engineering or that kind of thing. You basically got all these refrigerator type units in a lab somewhere where you're testing your cells. You're making sure that you're testing out different formulations to see if they're going to work. You're testing batteries under different conditions to see how they work under different conditions, that kind of thing. So it's like $100,000 piece of equipment for some of these things. So my thought process was, well, we can probably, I'm a grad student. My time is worth very little. And, I've got time to spare to see if we can't put together a cheaper, semi-reliable battery test hardware. So that was the original idea. Got a couple of my grad school buddies to fiddle around with that for a while. That did not end up working.